Hey everybody, welcome to Nifty Dimensions Podcast, a FUD-free production. This is the place for collectors, artists, and crypto enthusiasts alike, and where I get to geek out a little bit and show off all of my favorite works of art, tangible and intangible. Let's welcome, for this week's episode, the artist and award-winning filmmaker behind the documentary feature films Blood into Wine, Moog, and The Heart is a Drum Machine, the amazing Mr. Ryan Page. What's up, Ryan?
Hey everybody, how you doing, Lenny?
Good to see you, man.
Glad to be here. Love the show. I love where you guys are going. So
Thank you.
Consider me a fan.
Thanks. I'm a fan of yours. I'm really excited to be doing this.
I don't deserve it, but thank you.
It's a new show, so we're trying to show off a little bit of the people that we like and the artists we like and the people who have inspired us so much. And the work you've done has inspired me on many levels. Especially The Heart is a Drum Machine, but I know we'll get into that in a second. What got you started on this?
I've always loved film and filmmaking. I wanted, I ever since I was about 7 or 8 years old, I knew I wanted to make movies. I saw a couple early films that inspired me, and I didn't want to be in front of the camera. Like, no way. I wanted to be firmly behind the camera. I never, all through, middle school and high school, I never fell off that course. I never considered anything else. I always wanted to be a filmmaker, and I say it in a very humble way, but I got very lucky. It's hard. The one thing about making film is it's hard to, I've heard someone else say it, maybe it was P.T. Anderson or something, but it's hard to practice being a filmmaker. Not anymore so much, but back when when I started up, it's not like painting where you can just, I paint too and make, digital art. But back then it was really hard. You had just these chunky video cameras, and it was nothing like making film ultimately. But I got very lucky. I was also a writer. I am a writer. I wrote a screenplay in high school, and with a partner named Mike Pelagi, and I sent it out to one actor named Crispin Glover. You may know who he is.
Yes.
The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah. And he's been a huge part of my career. But I luckily, I don't even know why. I sent it to his agent, and he got right back to me. I was 18 years old. I always say my mom answered the phone. Crispin
Nice.
up and said he liked the script. He wanted to make the film. He asked if he could direct it. I was going to direct it, but I was cool. I knew it was going to be a ride, a fun ride. I said, yeah, that sounds great. He asked me one other thing, that if all the characters in the film could be portrayed by Down syndrome actors.
Wow.
There was no connection there, but I said, hey, great. It sounded good. It sounded interesting.
Sure.
And there it was. That was the next 4 or 5 years of my life. Another key part of my life is David Lynch.
Who?
Legend. Yeah. He, I don't know what, he's always been one of my favorite directors. I don't know what kind of caused me to do this or allow me to have kind of the huevos to do this, but I went to Lynch myself, asked him if he wanted to come on board. I didn't even tell Crispin about it until after, but I asked David if he would do it, and he just signed on right away. And
That's crazy, man. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a giant Twin Peaks fan, just like many times over, as well as, I watched Dune last night, just random, like, it's just the stuff I watch because I geek out over that stuff all the time. So you're dropping big names on me right now, man. It's exciting to hear.
That's cool. That guy is, both those guys.
Both.
I love interesting art and outsider art, underground filmmakers and films. And these, Crispin made a hell of a film. We made a film together that David Lynch executive produced. It's called What Is It? Crispin still tours it around to this day. About once a year, he seems to go out and show the film, and then he does what he calls Crispin Hellion Glover's big slideshow after.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's quite an event. You have to see it to believe it, really.
That sounds awesome.
The film is it's I don't know, man. It feels like it's kind of in line with like some of Kenneth Anger's work, and very experimental filmmaking, but and it's, I don't know, everyone's been pretty down with it. I'm happy. It played at Sundance. That's my first film went to Sundance. Okay, so
Wow.
I'm off on a good trajectory, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. Kenneth Anger's no joke either. That Lucifer Rising is one of my favorite cult films of all time. For whatever that means to anybody watching, it's quite a special piece of work if you give it a chance.
I think absolutely. Kenneth Anger has been, I think he's influenced a lot of filmmakers, and most people wouldn't even know his name.
Right.
He's amazing, man. Rabbit's Moon, I dig that film.
Oh, yeah.
I'm making a new film where I licensed some of Kenneth. I licensed some of Lucifer Rising for it. So
no way.
Yeah. So I got these big reels in, and like it's like pristine up there. It's really cool to see. And Jimmy Page, legendarily, Jimmy Page did the soundtrack for that film, and I guess they had some falling out.
Right.
You seen it with the Jimmy Page music?
I haven't seen it with Jimmy Page's music. I've heard Jimmy Page's music because I know when he finally released it on vinyl, and I already owned the Bobby Beausoleil version that got put on there on vinyl. But no, I never watched it with Jimmy Page's music to it.
You should. It's cool. It's a different experience, I'd say. I like Beausoleil's music. It's all great, but I think Jimmy Page. I just realized my father's is Jimmy Page too. My father's name is Jimmy Page. Or James.
No way. That's crazy.
People would call up and like, "Are you Jimmy Page?" Like,
right.
From there, just to kind of touch on or to wrap that up, I went to documentary film from there. I've always loved documentary film. I saw that I love music, and I thought that's a great way to combine film and music for me.
Yeah.
For a while, I made films about music. And to some degree, I'll always be making films about music.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear it.
I for those that don't know, I did Lenny mentioned it, but I did a film called The Heart is a Drum Machine. In that film, we interviewed over 100 artists from all different genres of music all across the board, from bluesmen to pop artists to rock legends to George Clinton, John Frusciante. It goes across, Maynard Keenan.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, well, before that, I should say, I actually made a film called Moog, and even one step before that, I made a film called Frontier Life. Not many people talk about this film anymore, but I'm very proud of it. It's a film called Frontier Life, and it was on the Nortec Collective. Do you know who they are?
No, but I'm writing everything down because I like to.
They're down in Tijuana, Mexico, and they're kind of a collective of really unique, interesting musicians. And Nortec, of course, they're the first ones to do it. I think it's it combined norteño and electronic music.
Okay.
And those guys, primarily Pepe from Nortec Collective. He's how we met Bob Moog. So we had actually, in that kind of synchronistic way that artists like you and myself love. One project sometimes, usually if they're good, they kind of lead into the next. You know how that goes?
Sure.
Definitely. Those are the best projects anyway for me. And Pepe one day said, "Hey, you guys want to meet Bob Moog?" And so Hans Fielestad and I went and met Bob, and there it was. No film had ever been made on Bob Moog. There had been no documentaries on Bob Moog. So we actually rolled right into that one. And that film is that one, and Drum Machine and Blood into Wine, which I later made, which was all about Maynard Keenan and living in a ghost town in Arizona making wine, and just all about him. And those are kind of what I'm known for, if anything. I mean, but I make documentaries, man. We're pretty. It's not like I'm Mr. Hollywood. I'm far from it.
Yeah.
Had some success, but it's all, it's I'm just glad I've kept the focus on the art, man. I'm no fan of like Tinseltown like bullshit, you know what I mean?
I could tell. We've only spoken a little bit, but I could tell there's definitely a the artist in each person isn't. I could tell you're not there to make the big, like, oh, I'm trying to make the big bucks. I've always said I'm a vessel as a musician. I'm a vessel for the music. I don't write it myself. If I'm in good spirits and I'm a good vessel at that moment, it comes through me the right way. If I'm practiced, I'll play it right. And it seems like you might be the same kind of person where you work for the art as opposed to the art working for you. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah. I will never, ever take a payday. I have never done it. I've been offered them. I have done a few commercials, but I don't even like commercials, man. I've done commercials that they're somehow, I can either use I did one for Phoenix Art Museum. I'm very proud of. We got to take the guys from and girls from Phoenix Art Museum came to me and they said, hey, we have the car from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Huh.
Okay? Yeah, that actual car.
Wow.
Real car.
Oh,
that
man.
Ferrari, I forget what model it was, but there was only a few of them in existence. Okay.
Right.
They said, we have this car. Can you, there's a show, Barrett Jackson's very famous car event.
Oh, yeah.
They said, can you make a commercial for the Phoenix Art Museum involving this car? Like, can you do it tomorrow?
Wow.
And yeah, we put this whole thing together and I'm very proud of that piece too, but it was cool to work around the car. But I'm not going to do something for like Purina Dog Chow or, any of that shit. It's very important to me. I mean, it's just life's too short, man.
Definitely.
It just seems like a road. It seems like as an artist, you have to just kind of have credibility for anyone to want to look at your stuff.
Definitely. Well, speaking of stuff, I know the viewers are going to want to hear some of these questions that I got for you because I like to ask specific questions to everybody who comes on. So first one that I like to ask is, what was your first memorable collectible that you ever got as a kid or whenever? Curious.
Okay. So, a couple of them I'll say, but, one was when I was about, I don't know, 16, 17. I mentioned that I was into film from being a kid on. I went to, every summer I go to UCLA to attend, it's called Media Workshops. It's basically a filmmaking program.
Cool.
Kids from all over the world go there. I went to a few of them. And we went around, as I was out in LA, I came across a Back to the Future script. And this is, of course, this is way before the Crispin thing,
Wow.
Bought this script. I have it in somewhere here that it's a script. The whole cast signed it. It was used on set.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that kind of blew my mind as a sophomore in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
I was also into skating as a kid.
Nice, me too.
Are you? Okay, cool, man.
Oh, yeah.
I got to, I won a contest where I got to go hang out with Powell and Peralta.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Stacy and George. Yeah, Stacy.
Yeah.
So
Legends.
and they were super nice guys. I got to pick their brains. And Stacy also is a filmmaker. You know that, right?
Yep.
He's made, I think, at least 3 or 4 or 5 documentaries, all very good.
Amazing.
Really cool guys, both of them. And, after we were done kind of with our meeting, there's like supermarket sweep style, like whatever you want, man. So I just ran through their warehouse and just like grab Tony Hawks and Caballeros and all this. It was like a dream come true for me at that age,
We're similar ages, I think. So I know exactly. We're from the same skateboarding era when we went from the giant fish boards to the freestyle boards. And
yeah. That was, I know skating is still great and everything, but to me that was, and I'm not just saying because we lived through it, that seemed like the coolest era of skating.
It was hands down.
Soy and Hawk, and I've seen all those guys skate, dude.
Yeah.
Like, big ramps, like they just don't do it like they. Skating's gotten very technical now, which is fine. It is a sport that should progress however it progresses, but dude, there's nothing like seeing Hosoi like hit those airs, man, like back in the day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's a great answer. That touches my heart.
Did you skate did you ever like skate on a like giant ramp, like competitively or anything? Or
well, I was a street skater. I did eventually go to a half pipe, and I was a cocky little bastard. I really thought I was gonna just drop in and be okay. And the first drop in, I was okay, and then I fell at the bottom. It didn't hurt. I came back and I went on the big half pipe thinking I had it figured out, and I went straight down and I broke my ass. They had to get a needle and take blood out of my ass cheek, or the side of my ass cheek, because it was so swollen. So that was I was done with ramps at that point. I stuck to street skating.
So I hear you, man. Well, part of that original like Powell Peralta crew, like that Animal Chin crew, was of course Tommy Guerrero, like
Oh
the
yeah.
ultimate street skater at the time, dude. And who also makes music nowadays. Have you heard? I haven't heard a lot, but I hear it's good.
Oh, I got to check it out. That's cool.
I honestly can't say I've heard a lot of it, but I know I've heard people say it's very good.
Awesome.
So, Tommy always seemed cool, man. And I have a place in California too, where I spend half the time. But right around the corner is a skate shop where all those guys still hang out at.
Really?
Yeah. It's McGill's skate place. Remember Mike McGill?
Way. Of course, yeah.
Walk in there and Mike will be sitting there.
Man.
They got a new board, so.
Yeah. I still dress old school. I have a Vision Streetwear t-shirt right in my closet, right over there. I like old school skate stuff. It'll always be cool to me. I don't care who says what about it.
Me too, man. I like I like the decks better than too, although some of them could get too wide, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. That was the time, and search for I'll tell you what, I was praising at the time. I was praising Stacy for making, which I consider a great film of it, if you just consider what it was trying to do. But the Search for Animal Chin. But Stacy was so embarrassed of that film, of being the director of that film.
Really?
Yes, he goes, I fully appreciate and understand like that you like it, but he's like, as a filmmaker, I'm embarrassed of like the kind of the little. I'm like, dude, it's perfect, man. Like I wouldn't change a thing about it,
Neither would I.
Yeah, so that deserves to go. That's really his first film. He might want to consider it something else, but it's for me, it's always Search for Animal Chin.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, let me ask you another question. Keep things moving here. I'm curious as to your favorite director, favorite film, whichever whatever you feel like disclosing. I'd love to hear it.
Sure, man. Okay. So my favorite filmmaker for sure is Werner Herzog. I don't know if you know him, but he's and I've been fortunate enough to meet him a number of times. Couldn't have been more helpful to the young filmmaker in me. He really kind of helped me out when I was really early on. So, but his films are incredible. He makes he makes documentary films and narrative feature films. For those that don't know, he's made Fitzcarraldo and Aguirre, Wrath of God. He made Grizzly Man. That was one of his bigger films. Documentary. What an amazing film that was. I don't know. He was a guy that was really pushing boundaries in the 70s, which was, I think most people consider the 70s the greatest time for film and filmmakers. Back before the corporations moved in and owned all the studios. It's hard to imagine now, but all the studios in Hollywood at one time were just, there'd be some studio head, which was usually some guy, some producer or director or someone that moved up and it was now running the studio. Who would just be single-handedly kind of with his team or whatever, or her team, be handpicking which films are going to go and curating what films are going to come out at Paramount or Universal. Sometime after, most people blame Jaws or E.T. or Star Wars, but at some point the corporation started sniffing around, and now when Sony is now run by God knows, what board, it's just not the same. You know what I mean? I talked to
close.
Yeah, it's just not, man. I'm a little late to the party, and I know he's been talking about this for years, but on the cover of some magazine right now, Martin Scorsese is talking about how cinema is dead. And he might be right. It's a weird time. There are great films that come out all the time, right? By adventurous filmmakers of all shapes and sizes in every country in the world. But I don't know if cinema holds it was like temple when I was growing up. Like that was my temple. That was my church. It's just very, I don't think kids or even young adults like look at film the same way that we did.
I don't think so either. And I agree, by the way. My favorite movie of all time is The Shining. And I mean, I think that was late 70s, I believe.
1980, yeah.
Okay, 80. All right. So yeah, it was that, to me, that still is the standard as far as, and I don't just mean horror movies, I mean movies, period. That is my ultimate. I can watch it over and over again. I have since I was a little kid, and there's just, to me, there's nothing better as far as cast and suspense and just the chemistry, and just everything Kubrick did was perfect in my opinion, and that's why I absolutely love him.
There's no one like him, I know that. And of course I'd say 90% of the people that I work with or associate with, or the directors I know, they all would put him as number one filmmaker of all time. So yeah. And of course he's one of mine, and I'm making a film about him now. I know you know that, but he's there is no more important filmmaker. He's incredible, really. And just how the guy's a complete mystery, really. Totally. He really still remains a complete mystery. Because every time you hear one thing about him or a fact, or you hear the total opposite over here. Yeah. You know, what blew my mind, and I just heard this. You know how he kind of legendarily did not fly on planes. You probably heard.
Yeah.
The dude had his own. He had a pilot's license.
I didn't know that. What?
Yep.
Wow.
Whatever we heard about his kind of being over in Europe and not being able to get, he didn't want to fly back, and I think he created that whole thing so we just wouldn't have to deal at all with Hollywood.
It's awesome. It's a really smart idea.
Really, right? I know.
Right.
If anyone wanted to come see him, you had to fly over to London and kind of go way out in the middle of the pastures out there where he was. But yeah, man, he's that blew my mind that he not only had no problem with flying, but he was a pilot. Amazing.
Yeah. And then of course, since we're talking about him, Eyes Wide Shut, the mystery of that.
Until you answer that, who's your favorite director?
I'm gonna have to say
other than Kubrick. Say.
What's that?
Other than Kubrick.
Other than Kubrick, I'm a Wes Anderson freak. I love Wes Anderson.
Nice. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's the Darjeeling Limited and the Royal Tenenbaums, but the Darjeeling Limited is my all-time favorite Wes Anderson. It's in my top 3 movies of all time because the soundtrack and the movie, especially if you're into like a cult esoteric realm, you might see that movie a little differently than somebody else. And I think there's really cool, deep meaning, and you can learn and see new things over and over. I've seen that movie probably 100 times or more, and I always keep learning from it.
Darjeeling Limited, you're talking about right then.
Yeah, Darjeeling Limited. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen it twice and I liked it. What occult aspects are you?
The 3 brothers, they're dealing with death, rebirth, very kind of has I won't say Masonic vibe, but I would say that the 3 brothers thing might have something to do with that. I'm just speculating, but I kind of always see a little of that going on.
Well, I'm buddies with Jason Schwartzman. He wrote that film.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah. I didn't know you knew him. That's cool.
Yeah, he was in Drum Machine. I don't know if you remember, but
oh yeah,
Jason's awesome.
Right.
Always interesting. But I'm gonna ask him that question.
Cool. I would love to know that. Is I have it on green vinyl, the soundtrack, and it's just one of my favorites to just put on. As far as it's awesome, and the Kinks are on there. The Kinks are awesome. So.
Yeah, the Kinks are on. Yeah, I think in every one of his films, or at least lately.
Jason Schwartzman. That's too cool, man. I told you I was going to geek out a little bit, though. I can't help it. That's just
great. There's no nice. I mean, the people that if I am friendly with Hollywood people or actors, they're all like really nice, sweet people. They're great artists and nice people. And Jason is the best.
Oh man, he was great in Bored to Death. That whole show. That was amazing. I love pretty much everything I've ever seen him, man. All the way back to Rushmore. Everything. Yeah, I love him. He's great.
So cool. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, awesome. Well, then I will get to my third question. And I'm a little curious of this one. I know we spoke briefly about it, but I can't wait for everybody else to hear what you're currently working on, what you're getting into, what's going down. Because I know you got NFTs, you're on Foundation now. Like, let's hear about it.
Well, yeah, man. I know you're absolutely into NFTs and an artist, great artist in your own right. Ever since I heard about NFTs, I had this just every now and again, you just get this weird feeling like, oh, that's it. And when I first time I heard about NFTs, it was like that. It was like that kind of moment. Everyone watching this show probably is very familiar with NFTs. I think maybe 75% of Americans probably have never heard the term or have just barely heard it or something, which is so awesome. It's your friend and mine, Freeman Fly, called it like, it's this Wild West kind of moment where this, there's been this like democratization of the art world. You know what I mean? It just felt like the right thing. And my mind as a filmmaker also, I do paint, and I mean, I don't consider myself a good painter, but I think I do some interesting things. I've been buying up all these old paintings and doing my own thing with them. And I think that's one thing I'll be coming out with soon. I'm figuring out how to best turn those into NFTs, but
Nice.
I minted my first NFT recently, and it was the first like piece of digital art that I made ever. I don't think I've even listed it at. It's very special to me, but it was for my films, and I made this piece of art that it was for Drum Machine, and so I listed that first. It just is a special thing for me. But I mentioned I did the film Moog. I think you've seen that film.
Oh yeah.
Bob Moog was another very important person in my life. It might be my most well-known film. It's played Showtime for many years. But
so
Bob,
great.
oh, thank you, man. It's a special film to me because Bob was just so awesome, and he just really fit. You know how like you meet people, you meet your heroes, and it sometimes can be disappointing.
Yeah.
Bob was just the opposite of that, man. He was like, I love all his ideas about, he felt all his instruments retained a memory of him.
Yeah.
Creator of his creations retained a memory of him. That just blew my mind at the time we were filming. And he and David Lynch look at kind of art and ideas in the same way. They sort of think, they look at them as they're floating around, and it's the artist's job to just kind of quiet the mind and reach up and kind of grab them. That blew me away also. I just realized I'm wearing a terrible t-shirt or this shirt, and this is something that Bob would have worn,
It's great. It's classic.
I didn't mean to, but it's some tribute to him.
Awesome.
But one of the next group of NFTs that I'm going to drop are related to Moog and Moog music. And we're going to do a tie-in where we give away a trip to Asheville to visit Moog music.
Wow.
And, meet everybody there, look at some of the new creations that are coming out. They're not even out yet. No one even knows about them.
Oh, man.
And also have some sort of, I mentioned, like have some sort of supermarket sweep type thing at Moog Music, which I think is pretty cool,
That's super cool. Whoever wins that is pretty much the luckiest person on the planet. That's awesome, man.
Totally, man. It's like, it's all about, Moog Music is, they do it the right way. It's just the total opposite of some like cold corporate feel, kind of company.
Yeah.
I'm not, mentioning other names, but they just do it the right way. Even after, Bob passed right when we were releasing Moog.
Yeah.
Before the premiere, he died before that. But Mike Adams has just, he worked with Bob prior to Bob's passing, but boy, has that guy like, okay, listen to this, man. I just found this out the other day, but what a cool guy. Mike Adams, the president of Moog Music, and they wouldn't even know I'm talking about this right now, but he gave the company back to the employees.
No way.
Yeah, he made everybody that worked there an owner.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Who does that?
No one does that. No one does that.
That's cool as hell.
It took him a while, like legally and to get around all these things. He had to like retain a lawyer to work with him for a few years to just do it the right way. But he
Yeah.
literally gave the company to the employees, so they all have an ownership stake. That to me, just that should be the way of the future, man. That should be the way.
That I agree 100%. That's so amazing. I missed an opportunity to meet Bob years ago. I had some friends. I was into some frequency experiments with tuning forks and frequency generators and solfeggio stuff. And so some friends were in Asheville making these giant uh, frequency rods. I don't even know what to call them, but it was some high level stuff. And they asked me if I wanted to come, so I took a drive down, and somebody that lived in Asheville knew Bob, and I had never been to the place, and ironically, the days I was there, they were closed, and he couldn't make it, and I never got a chance to meet him. I still have never even set foot into that little place. And I've seen it, and I can't wait. I'm not too far. I'm in South Carolina, and I'm hoping to get Freeman to take a road trip up there one of these days. That would be so awesome.
You guys should come. That's
Yeah.
what you guys should come, meet me up there.
Oh, you know it. I'll be there in a heartbeat. You won't have to twist my arm.
Yeah, they've done so much with that. Like when I went back after Bob passed, they had done so much in those 5 years. Like it was totally different deal. They've really expanded downtown. It's amazing. They're having like all kinds of like artists come in and do, like Trent Reznor. He'll come in and just toy around with the instruments and give his feedback. And like it's rad what they're doing,
You know what, Ryan? Speaking of, man, just recently I got into Lisa Belladonna. She's an artist who plays for Moog. She's been on YouTube on the Moog channel recently, and very amazing. So I'm going to be highlighting some of her work on the show as well, because it's really awesome. I got Freeman into it the other day, and yeah, she's really kicking butt.
What's her story?
I honestly don't know her story. I just know I've never seen somebody create such beautiful sounds. She's got Moog gear everywhere around her. One of the recordings looks like it's at the Moog spot. Others, it looks like she's at home. There's some live performances. I've just been watching whatever I can get. I've even been on her Bandcamp page. She has a 4-track album on there. And yeah, just over the last few days, it was just the AI recommending me, because I was, I'm not going to lie. I kept doing homework on you, even on the stuff that I already watched. I watched it again just because I really wanted to be up on it. And it recommended her. Lisa Belladonna, I believe.
I want to, it's incredible how Moog Fest has even become this huge thing in like the electronic music world.
Yeah.
And, actually we put on a Moog Fest. We put on the first Moog Fest, actually.
Wow.
We put on 4-hour film. We don't get credit for it, but
okay.
We put on Moog Fest at Bimbo's in San Francisco and had all these interesting artists come in and play, and we filmed it all, used it all through the film. But awesome. Yeah, now Moog Fest is just in Asheville. It's blown up. I mean, some of the greatest artists are also performing with these. I heard this guy Fart Barf. Do you know who that guy is?
No.
Who the hell he is, but I was digging on his music. He played Moog Fest one year, and I was just listening the other day, and he's doing some cool stuff.
Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, yeah, music. The weird thing about music is, and it's the way music has gone on to it's very hard for musicians to even make a living anymore, as you probably know.
Oh yeah.
But it also at the same time, the spectrum of music that everyone has access to and can listen to and kind of go down rabbit holes is like never before. So that's one thing that's amazing. I think film is going to go the way of music in a sense, where it already is,
Yeah.
It's where sort of the playing field is leveled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about NFTs though is that, we artists do have to, we do have families and have to make a living sometime, even though money will of course never be the focus, but we I have 2 children and a wife, so they do like it when there's food on the table,
for sure.
So the one cool thing about NFTs is that it is it's been democratized in a way where it's a level playing field, but you can still, if you do it the right way, and I think you approach it the right way, and if you are humble about it, and and offer exciting things to people, I think you can make a living at it where you're not looked down upon or things like that, you know?
Yeah. I feel like as long as you don't compromise your art,
Right.
you're good to go. It's the people, and you know, I've known so many of them in the music business who have compromised their art and the integrity, and then they wonder why it didn't succeed because they were trying to bend their style to what's popular at the moment. I wonder why it didn't succeed.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Now, the funny thing is that's the reason I've approached it that way is it's no great mystery. Everyone I've witnessed a whole bunch of artists over the years making that exact wrong decision to take the money to do something that you shouldn't, that is not right for you or your career. You don't have any passion or feeling about it, but you do it just for the buck. And it's always a disaster, man. After the person, the artist is done with whatever they were doing on that wrong road, they usually are sort of, they're done creatively in a way. I don't know, man. They can try and get it back, but they've made that one terrible mistake.
Yeah.
And it's just so unnecessary too, man. It's so unnecessary. Hollywood is kind of, you know, I was just thinking the other day about Hollywood and the motion picture industry and how much it has changed since I was coming up. I sort of came up in the indie boom, like right in the wake of, you know, Tarantino and the Tarantinos and Kevin Smiths and, you know, P.T. Anderson's, just that whole boom. So when I came up, that was kind of the golden time I got lucky to come in that.
Yeah.
You know, but prior to that, it'd been like, if you're a Steven Spielberg or something, you can walk on the Universal set and kind of watch films being made, and then somehow someone offers you a big directing gig and you're off. That just does not exist anymore.
Right.
That exists. Not even when I started, it doesn't even exist like that. It's very hard to make it in a living as a filmmaker. However, having said that, there's been no better time in the history of filmmaking where you know, if you're thinking about access to cameras and equipment, if you're in Toledo, Ohio, you can grab a camera. And, you know, I think it's Francis Ford Coppola who famously said in the wake of Apocalypse Now, he said he looks forward to a time when, I think he said, some fat little kid in whatever town could make the masterpiece film, could make the Citizen Kane of its day. And he's right. We're sort of in that zone, but I think it's the hard thing is this: there are so many films out there now, and we only have so much time, and there's so many choices for what you're going to listen to or watch.
Yeah.
That and Scorsese was talking a little bit about this too in his piece about film dying. But how do we? Who is curating the list of things that we should watch? You know,
right?
That's so, because it's just like it can get very overwhelming and you can get fatigued just by the choices.
Definitely.
I don't know, what's your take on that? Like, what's your take on that stuff?
Yeah, same. And I won't name them just, you know, for the sake of a good show, but a lot of the streaming services and the stick for the TV and all that stuff, I have all of it. And to be honest with you, most of it I don't really waste my time with. A lot of the new shows and movies that come out, especially through a lot of those, I see a good one every now and then. I did like what's that, Peanut Butter Falcon. So I did like that. I think that was on Netflix or Prime, but anyway, for the most part, I've been pretty disappointed myself. So yeah, I've been holding back for most of the new stuff, and have been kind of getting nostalgic with some of my favorites, all the way back to like Gene Wilder and the original Willy Wonka movie, and all the way through. He was one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah, he's great. Have you? I mean, every time I get depressed, though, I'll end up popping something in, and it just blows my mind. I think we talked about the other day. Have you seen Mandy yet? The film Mandy?
No, I haven't, but I have to see.
You have to see it. It's
Nicolas Cage.
Might be the best film of the last 10 years.
Okay.
That film Mandy just rules, man. So every now and again, that a film like that will come out and just like slay you, you know, like when Harmony Korine came out, you know, with his films, you know, and from Kids on, really. I mean, what an amazing filmmaker that dude was. And you know, I don't know if Harmony's into NFTs, but I know Aphex Twin is.
Oh, such a great artist.
Who is, you know, along with Chris Cunningham, like they've linked up on some pretty incredible filmmaking type stuff, you know, with the Window Licker. Have you seen the Window Licker thing?
No.
Oh, man.
No. I'm writing more down.
Yeah, dude, you got to see Window Licker. Chris Cunningham is, yeah, I just want to know that guy. He and Aphex Twin are just kind of like whatever they do, I'm into, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, check it out. Like the full, it's like 11 minutes long or something like that. Make sure you see that. It's got two dudes driving down the street, and that's you're in the right place when you hear a lot of F-bombs.
All right. I can handle it. That's what's up. Yeah, that's cool. Aphex Twin, I got into him because of Frusciante back when John was working on To Record Only Water for 10 Days in like 2000, 2001. He started talking about the electronic influences that he was getting into, Depeche Mode, things of that nature. And yeah, so as time went on, it took me a while, but after a while, I really got into some of that more complex electronic music. Even I have Speed Dealer Moms, which was a project he did with Venetian Snares. Back in the day, they have something new coming out. So I have what's that?
Talking about Aphex Twin?
Oh no, Frusciante. I'm sorry.
I love John Frusciante. Is another guy that is, I mean, there is not a nicer guy than Frusciante. He's been so nice to me. He's been in my films. He's given me music for free. The dude's incredible, man. Like I'm a huge fan of his. Whatever he does is always going to be interesting. Count me in as a fan of his, as a person, as an artist. But yeah, Aphex Twin has gotten into NFTs too. He's got a partner in crime. I gotta check the name on that, but it's Weird something. It might be Weird or something like that. And I've checked out that guy's art, and that's like wild, very wild and interesting. I love those guys. But you know, Aphex Twin dropped a really interesting piece, and it just got scooped up. The bidding war was insane for it. But hell, if anyone deserves it, it's that guy.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna check it out. I would love to. I can't wait to see where all that goes, especially with artists like that are so ahead of their time, to where, like, let's face it, NFTs are still ahead of this time a little bit, even though you and I are, we're involved in it and we're on Foundation. Like you said, it's not, most of my friends and family, when I bring up crypto or NFTs or anything in that realm, they're very clueless, and they're always like, I don't really understand what you're saying to me right now. It's like a different language.
Right.
But I want to say one thing real quick before we move on, just from the heart. Look, you had tracks on that Heart as a Drum Machine movie from Frusciante's Empyrean album. The Empyrean album, for anybody watching, is one of the most sacred, special, spiritual albums ever. And it was there for me, sealed, brand new on vinyl. I had it waiting. It was through one of the roughest times of my life back in about 2008. And it was there waiting for me. And that album, I opened it when I was finally ready to open up to it. And it really got me through some of the roughest times of my life. And it is one of the most, if not most meaningful albums, in my opinion, ever. And when I heard it on there and just how it all connected, talk about synchronizing and all that with life, it really just hit me so hard, because it was it saved my life. And I don't just say that like loosely, like it literally did. And you and I could talk about that another time, in private chat, but really, so yeah, man, I just had to say that you got to work, like literally, I have a Chili Peppers tattoo, like you like my idol, the guy who taught me how to sing and play guitar at the same time was John Frusciante, period. So like, I just had to throw that in there because that hit me so hard when I heard that music in there. And just, it's so cool that you were able to use that, and you have him for an extra 45 minutes talking the most meaningful, in-depth way about creating music and listening to music. And like Elijah Wood, man, his part, it gave me goosebumps when Elijah was talking about geeking out over the records and over collecting. And it's so cool to see somebody of that caliber of awesomeness as an actor also be just as big of a nerd about this stuff as I am, or Joe Schmo from Idaho for that matter. Like, it's great.
Talk about synchronicity, man. Like, okay, so Elijah Wood, another, guy, that very friendly, awesome dude. I don't know him as well as some of the others, but he's just been nothing but nice to me and been in my film. But he's the guy that introduced me to Freeman Fly.
That's so crazy. So he was into Freeman stuff?
Yes.
Wow. And this was...
He shot like a 1/4 of Drum Machine at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, right? Because after we had a number of musicians that we'd kind of gotten on a few road trips to New York and LA and stuff, but we wanted to kind of find a place where we could get a bunch of interesting artists that could just in and out, do the interviews in a couple hours.
Sure.
And Elijah Wood, I remember picking him up at his hotel. There was only like 4 or 5 guys on our crew, and so I was kind of picking people up as producer. I didn't care, but on the way from there to where we were doing these interviews, Elijah was like, "Dude, have you heard of this guy Freeman Fly?" I'm like, wow. No, I really had not. And so he kind of filled me in on the way, and then when we got to the place we're going, he threw him on. I guess Freeman was on Access in Austin at the time.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So Elijah was able to show me. I think it was on a computer, and from there on, I was into Freeman stuff. So there's that piece. The other piece, I mentioned that John had given us just didn't want any money for it. I offered him money, did not want money. Well, it was the Empyrean. That's the piece that 10-minute piece or whatever it was. We ended up talking while I was in the editing room, and he's like, I was talking about how I didn't have the music to cover this thing. He's like, dude, if you want, like, no fee, no charge, just look through my catalog and pick out a song. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, no problem.
Yeah.
So I went right to that one. That was it. And it's in the film. I think it plays for a while in the film.
Yeah. It hit me hard when I heard that. That was deep.
I say one thing too, you mentioned that, we did release we just put the whole thing out raw as a DVD bonus feature. That was one of those, as a filmmaker, like, you're always looking, especially with documentaries, I don't like planning them out too much. I mean, you know where you're going to go roughly, but I think the only good documentary filmmakers are the guys and girls who just keep it open and sort of like let the film take you where it wants to go.
Yeah.
Despite that flow, you're not going to make a good film. That was some of the early advice I got from Werner Herzog, and boy was he right. But when you're as a filmmaker, when you're sitting behind that camera, there have been only about 5 or 6 times in my whole career where you're just like, oh my God, like, you kind of look around at people and like, this, whatever's going on right now is very good. You can feel it in the room. Like, it's like the air is like crackling sort of with electricity. It's really crazy, man. But that was one of those times we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, dude, whatever we're getting, it's wild. And we just let it roll, man. And John just like, he's like, do you mind? Am I boring you? Like, dude, the exact opposite, man. Just go.
Right.
So yeah, so that was another time on Blood and Wine. Maynard is love Maynard.
Me too.
Interesting artist in the world, right?
Oh, everything he does.
Sort of a little kind of hard to get to know at first, I think if you were him and if I were him, I would have some trust issues too. I think. Sure. Totally understandable. I've made 3 films with Maynard, by the way, but this is early on. But so after we did like 3 interviews, they were all very, very good. But he's, he can kind of be quiet and very interior as a person. But when I knew this is going to be an amazing film, he told us to meet us at this kind of really nice place, a really beautiful looking place above his vineyards. And he started talking about his mother. And his mother had, I think she suffered a stroke very early when he was a boy. And she was kind of bedridden the rest of her life. And this is obviously very, impactful on Maynard. and he started talking about how his mom couldn't even walk and for most of her life. And she's sort of, I don't know if she even spoke very much. Okay. I know he went to live with his dad and, ultimately went to the military, just to get just to get out of whatever was going on. But he spoke about his mother, and he had taken her ashes. She had just passed away at this time in 2010, 11, when we were filming the movie. And what he did was he took her ashes and he put them at the base of all of his plants, all of his vines.
Yeah.
He wanted his mom to be able to travel the world, And he started crying, and we were just, it just felt like, wow, this is a moment, that we're all going to remember forever, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I knew we were going to make just a really interesting film from there on out, and it proved to be true, I think. But I'm probably proudest of Blood into Wine.
Blood into Wine was so cool, and I know you were a writer on there too, or one of the writers, right?
Yeah,
Man,
correct.
that hit me so hard. And real talk, my mom just passed not too long ago from cancer, and when I watched that part, I cried. Granted, the whole, you just told me even fuller version of it, but what's available in there, I cried hardcore because it hit me so hard. And it also made me realize that what I'm doing right now is very similar as far as I keep my mom in mind. I'm working really hard, and it's all with the intention of making her proud, and so it really hit me hard. And I was really touched by that. And then to see the first bottles with Judith, right? Like they went out, and it was just so special. And oh man, like talk about real magic, like all the corny jokes aside, like that's like the real working of high level magic for good, like not like any weird stuff, but I've never seen magic on that level before, and it hit me really hard.
It was a moment, man, that I'll never forget. Probably, the moment in my career. But and he also gave us all these old albums that he had of his mother.
Oh wow.
And we sort of brought them to life out in the field. Like we had people hold up frames. We had Maynard hold up frames, and then we kind of put these images on there of his mother.
Wow.
It was wild, like looking through that. Like it's he really opened up to us, and that's that's the only way you're going to get an interesting film, right? Like
Sure.
the first documentary that blew me away was Crumb, the documentary on Robert Crumb.
Yeah.
David Lynch randomly he exec produced that too, but Terry Zwigoff made that, who also made Ghost World, and that's a hell of an interesting filmmaker. But Crumb was like, oh my, that was a new model for documentaries for me,
Yeah.
They could go that step further and I didn't know if Maynard would go there with us. It's sometimes they don't. Sometimes people don't. And I was worried about Maynard because he famously doesn't go there.
Right.
Allow people
He's mysterious. Yeah.
He's like known for that. But I know if we could just, and it's really, I think it's just about approaching it in a humble way, man. It's just about approaching it the right way.
And your love, you could tell that you love what you're doing. And I think to even from the biggest rock star to anybody, you can see it on you. You can feel it from you. And I'm sure anybody who's worked with you has been able to notice it too. Because I could tell just through your work, from what I've watched of your films, you could just tell from the everything I've ever seen. And I didn't see Queens of Country yet. I haven't seen that, but I have a list of things in front of me that I haven't seen from you yet. And it's kind of crazy because it's just you got a lot of crazy stuff out there, man. It's pretty exciting.
Well, I think, and I absolutely hear you on that. And I think what we do that some other filmmakers, they just do it differently, and whatever they want to do is cool. But I've had no narration in any film I've ever done. Okay. So there's never a narrator kind of telling you how to feel about something. Right. I let the subject or artist, I let the movie be told through their words. Because that's to me what's interesting. Like, I have my own take on things, and I'm sort of guiding the film in whatever way I can, of course, and I'm taking it to this interesting place or doing this. And documentary films are made in the editing room anyways. Yeah. But I don't need to stand in the way of like people who want to know how Maynard feels about something. I don't need to get in the middle of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That just seems really lame to me. So I'd rather have my subjects or the artists in my films, like, they can tell you what their story's about.
Definitely. That's awesome. And by the way, the ending of Blood into Wine, I won't spoil it. I won't do any spoilers for anybody who's going to go watch this later. But the ending of Blood into Wine is classic. And yeah, it's fun.
Sort of are playing like total assholes in that part, you know, but we are sort of playing it.
Right.
That situation is real. We were really asked to turn the film into that. That's legit.
That's crazy.
It felt so creepy to me. I guess that sort of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, about sort of selling out, right?
Yeah.
So at least you know, we were asked to do something that would have absolutely been selling out.
Right.
It would have ruined that picture.
Yeah.
But my partner in crime there, Christopher, we felt we had to like address this with Maynard in some way.
Yeah.
So we decided to, like, you know, approach him as if it's just, I laugh at it now, but it's, you know, that was all real. Maynard, we did one take, and then Maynard he asked if he could have the final word of the film, and he does. We let him have the final word of the film, and he kind of broke off from us and gave this like really nice speech, I thought, you know, to end it.
Totally.
Down in Arizona Bay, and you know, Maynard came to Arizona. I'm in Arizona right now. I split time between here and California, but I'll always love Arizona. When Maynard first came here, I think I was in like 9th grade. All we did was hear that, like, dude, the dude from Tool moved to Arizona, like this ghost town in Arizona. Like, what the hell's going on, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But he talks about the second he went to Arizona, he'd been seeing it in his dreams since he was a boy. So have you ever been here?
No, I've never been there. I stopped in a flight once. I never even got to get out of the airport. And I definitely will be there. I have some very close friends. My friends, Bob and Sylvia, they're a couple in Virginia. They're actually moving to Arizona very soon. So I know I'll be out there at some point.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's kind of suburbs.
Okay.
But I don't like, that's not the Arizona that I like, you know, like, I like, it's like midway up to northern Arizona, and that's where Maynard is. It's, you know, Sedona, Flagstaff, and just all that up there is beautiful. I mean, I live kind of in between those two places, but and also down like the old Pueblo down in Tucson. That's amazing. I mean, Phoenix is just like Maynard says, it's just like strippers and concrete, you know, like strippers and concrete, he says, and that's no fun, as you know. But
no,
it's once you get kind of going up northern Arizona, it'll blow your mind, man.
Right. I can't wait. I'm gonna check it out. There's a song on the first Pussifer album called Green River, and he said there's a line in it. He says, "Way your worth before Her Majesty the Verde River." And then watching that documentary and him talking about it, it just really was like, wow, man! Like, talk about just a total package of quality, depth, and just to go back to a song. I mean, I don't even know what year that song's from. I think it was from their first album.
Not from their first, but I love that song, and one, I think my favorite Pussifer album is, I think it's Conditions of My Parole.
My Parole, yeah, exactly.
My favorite one. That has so many good tracks on it, but Maynard, why he's having success as a winemaker, vintner. There's a lot of rock stars who lend their name to things, lend their name to wineries and whatever, or like some even take it more seriously. And some, you know, there are a few that make a good product. But I think Maynard totally approached that the right way, kind of the way we're referring to. Definitely. He approached it from like the most humble way possible, where he went around in the Verde Valley area and said he wanted to find a mentor figure. I mean, that's cool for a guy like that.
Yeah.
Who's had like success on an extreme level, like as a multi-millionaire artist, like to approach something in a humble way. Like not many artists on that level do that.
Right.
But totally. Use boots on the ground, hands in the dirt.
Love that.
That's the only reason why I made the film, man. I didn't want to make it. If he wasn't like that, we would have never made that film ever. We went and interviewed him for The Heart Is a Drum Machine. That's the only reason I knew he was that way, because we went up there. He said, "Come on up to my vineyard and we can do the interview there." We did, and then we saw that he was really doing it.
Yeah.
He was working with he was experimenting with vines, and I mean, he found these vines on his land that missionaries had planted these vines like 100 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Those vines and they grew again. They grew grapes. I mean, that's incredible, you know?
Yeah.
That's like, talk about like, I think we were gonna, in our film, you know, we have a film, The Heart is a Drum Machine. In the film, in the film with Maynard, Blood into Wine, like someone says in the film, I forget who, but it's wine is a time machine. We almost called the film that. It was,
Awesome.
you know, coming off A Heart is a Drum Machine, then going to that.
Right.
Because it is, man. It's like you are literally like opening up like a time capsule from another time. That air in that bottle is from another time.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, I got trip out and stuff like that, but
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
I know you. I'm thrilled to see more of your art too, and I
Thanks.
dig everything I've seen. And I think, I mean, talk about where you're at with NFTs.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. I don't talk about myself that much, but I'll take an opportunity to do that. Thanks.
Filmmaker. I'm gonna ask a few questions. You know.
No, I'm glad. It's cool. I really should be pushing my stuff and Nifty Dimensions in general more, but I get so into this that I forget. So I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm on Foundation under the name Sacred Seven, all one word. Sacred Seven connecting to energies of the Pleiades. I believe that a lot of the inside knowledge that I've gained over the years has been through meditation and literature that I've read about the Pleiades. And it connects to that because I had learned about frequency and the solfeggio frequencies and just body tuners and tuning forks. And it all stemmed from a meditation I did to the Pleiades like forever ago. And it gave me some new things to think about. And I don't know, maybe it was already there in my head. Maybe I imagined it, whatever it was. It gave me this new name and the stuff to try. And that's how I met Freeman. I was doing 13th chakra activation. It would be with like crystals and tuning forks. And although I was a bit of a space cadet back then, I think I was on to something pretty interesting. And ironically, it's kind of come back around full circle. So I used that as my artist name instead of Leonardo Rizzo. I just figured it would be just something a little special and reconnect me to the energies that I feel like gave me a spark and gave me my future, which is frequency. I'm a musician, I'm a guitar player, but I'm really, especially the older I get, I understand how frequencies can help us or hurt us or, you know, everything in between. And it's been an infatuation of mine and something I still focus on even beyond music. I'll sit there and I'll get the body tuners and like get a really good body tuner and put it on your chest and your whole body vibrates at it. And it's just things I got really into. And on Foundation, I've been releasing, I have two pieces that were up there. They're both sold, but they're I'd say a little more the psychedelic kind of art. There's definitely a theme there. One is called Liquid Sky. That's actually an ode, a hat tip to an old cult classic called Liquid Sky that was made back in the day. It's a freaky movie, but one of my favorites. And then the other one is called Bears of Perception, which is based on the Doors of Perception quote.
I liked them both, man. And as speaking just then, I thought like how much Bob Moog would have dug you, like because everything you're speaking is like what he was into. The theremin was his instrument. Yeah. He built theremins from the time he was, I think, 14 on. He loved the theremin, and like you're literally playing, you're using your hand in the air and, you know, bending notes in the air. And
yeah,
it's incredible. Oh, one of the pieces that just reminded me, one of the pieces we're throwing up, or I'm throwing up, is Bob playing the theremin down by the river in Asheville.
No way.
He's playing Old Man River. It's really beautiful. And it's the last time I saw him, last time all the filmmakers saw him is at the end of filming. And it's a special moment, you know, but,
sure.
And he did that for us. We'd been all over the world, Japan with him and New York and shot everywhere, but we ended in Nashville and yeah, so that's one of the pieces we're throwing up. yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm excited. I'm just excited about this whole thing, man.
Me
It's like,
too.
it seems like the sky's the limit where it can go. And Freeman too. I know he's doing some cool art too. You know, it's like,
He's doing great. He's been so impressive. Real talk. Like, yeah, I handle the podcast, but he made the entire website. He's been amazing. The logos, everything we've needed, even a lot of the stuff that I do, without him helping me get through it, it wouldn't have looked even half as good. It's basically a lot of the stuff is in collaboration with him. Just the same on his end. If he's got music or sound effects, most likely I did it. And we work really well together. And it's cool because we've known each other forever. And I always wanted to do something with him, but I always knew I had to bring it and it had to be something good. And I don't really dabble in the conspiracy world too much. I mean, I might know a little this or that, but it's just not my vibe as far as the kind of content I want to create. I'm more into the artsy side and music and things. So, but it's been pretty interesting. And yeah, it's been quite the journey. He's killing it on Foundation too. He's doing really well. And just real quick, so we can get, I'm going to have all this down below for the viewers. But your foundation name is ZU33. Is that correct?
Yeah, I pronounce Zoo 33.
Zoo 33.
33. Yeah, it's just it's the name of my company, and I've always had that. So yeah,
Beautiful. All right.
I don't know if you could even find me on Ryan Page, but you might. It's Ryan Page or Zoo33. But
all right, cool. And I'll have all the links up, and even below you, and I'll have all that there. So, all right. One last question. All right, and this is definitely one I figured I'd get into real quick. But I'm curious if you own any cryptocurrency, and if you do, what do you like and what are you into?
man, yes, I do. I've had it since, I don't know. I can't remember what year. I had a bunch of Bitcoin. I'm so mad that I sold it.
Ooh.
A lot, I know, share that story. So, but I'm a decent amount, and I sold it when it was at $800.
Oh man,
myself now, but
yes,
yes, I've been into this whole time. My wife and I, we're totally into. We try to get, we try to just own a lot of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a decent amount of Ethereum too, but I'm more into the little one, the like stellar lumens and that stuff.
So, you got me into AMP when we talked the first time we talked. You got me into AMP. I bought a little when it went live on Coinbase, but after I talked to you, I had realized I wanted more because it did start. It went up to like 12 or 13 cents, right, somewhere in there. Came back down to 8. I bought it at 8, and I had previously bought it at 7, so I got a little bit of those. I like the small cap stuff personally.
You're one day going to be a crypto trillionaire or a billionaire, right?
One day. I look to be. I definitely ventured off as far as anybody else I know. I think I dove off the deep end a little bit. I needed to know it bugged me. I didn't know how to buy anything on Uniswap, and I needed to know. So I kept pushing, and the first couple times I totally aped into a rug pull, and I didn't know it. So basically, the crypto, the value goes up so high, and then a bunch of holders short it, and they all sell at the same time, and it crashes down. And I didn't realize I had bought at a pretty high point. That's when I started to realize you got to pull back the chart and look at the past a little more. So I screwed up a couple times. It wasn't the worst decisions. I'm still doing all right. But eventually I started to figure out, all right, let me get these coins before they're even known about. So I started to get into some different ones with that. I'm sure some will be a waste of money, and hopefully one or two. Yeah, if I could be a millionaire or better in the future from that, that's cool. It'll just fund good things for the world and whatever art I could put out.
Totally. And this just dawned on me too, connecting back to what we were talking about, but we were talking about making art the right way, and there is a right way, I think, to do it, or the wrong way anyway. But
yeah,
a lot of these, like, we like to invest in the crypto where they're doing it the right way.
Totally.
Stellar lumens, they're built on being able to send your money like with no fee, like middlemen banks out of the taking their humongous fees, instantaneous wiring of money or transferring of money down to every country in the world for pennies,
Yep.
Take it to a bank and it's $40 to $70 to do that same thing. So
Right.
that's the kind of stuff I dig, because I see like, man, of course that I can see that going. Why wouldn't anybody want to use that?
Of course. Yeah. DeFi, peer-to-peer with DeFi is legit. Taking out the middleman, especially all of us who, like you said, you're a fan of Freeman's. I'm friends with Freeman, and anybody that's heard any of his work, or anybody of the truth, people in the truth movement, seekers, whatever you want to call. Yeah, they've these things have been pointed out for quite some time. So yeah, I don't know. It's all kind of interesting how it's laying out.
In regard to Freeman, like my wife always says, like, you can hear the kindness in his voice.
It's true.
And I keep on that. And my wife is totally right about that. You can hear how he cares for other people as he's spent his whole career just trying to get the truth to us.
For sure. And he looks out for people, even people he doesn't know. Like, if you're a fan of his show and you're like, hey, I'll be in South Carolina, he'll be like, oh, come by. And, just meet a bunch of new people. And most of them are solid gold, good-hearted people, like nobody, it's really cool. The circles that he's running and the people that are attracted to him, it's a really good vibe he puts out. And yeah, he's a loving dude. He's a really good guy. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Done it the right way, and it's very obvious to everybody.
Yeah,
it's just obvious when people aren't in it for the right reasons, or you can just tell it they're just not there. But with him, like, there is no question. He's unquestionably, he's the OG of the. I trust him and completely.
Totally. Yeah, man. He taught a lot of people about synchronicity and how to open up to things. And as a friend to me personally, he taught me how to I'm a bit of a spastic, overwhelming kind of guy, and he really taught me how to pull back a little bit and have a different view on things. And yeah, really, really good guy. So it's cool
who might be Freeman's doppelganger?
What's that?
Is Alex Gray.
Alex Gray?
Yeah.
Oh man.
There might be a doppelganger kind of situation going there. Like,
really?
Similar artist, similar kind of vibe. They look a little bit alike,
Right. I love Alex Gray. Man, talk about the old Chapel of Sacred Mirrors in Manhattan. I was lucky enough to be there and hang with him back a long time ago now. It was back when he was there. And I met him and Allison, and there was a group there of Himalayan voices, maybe it was called, but there was gongs and tuning bowls and tuning forks. And that's when I was like, oh, this is so my world. And it was just another synchronistic moment where I got to walk through the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors original space, meet him, do all this with him and a group of people. And yeah, of course I got obsessed with frequency and all that stuff. Like, how could I not when you're into that, right?
Totally, man. No, it's just so great to meet other artists that are doing cool stuff. And it's just one of those moments when it just feels like a small world to me, It's not as big as it seems.
Totally. Well, look, Ryan, it was amazing having you on, and I want everybody watching to please go check out Ryan on Foundation at Zoo33. You can check me out at Sacred 7. Freeman is at Freeman Fly. Those are all on Foundation. And definitely please hit subscribe and follow along. Hit the like button if you like it. Share with your friends. We're a new channel here, but we're definitely making some moves, and we're excited to be doing it. We got a lot of love for artists. And we'll be sending that love out. Hopefully we'll be getting some back. Any final thoughts, Ryan?
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you.
You guys are doing the right thing. You guys are doing it the right way. And I appreciate it.
Thanks. Me too. I appreciate you coming on the show. We'll talk soon. Everybody have a good one.
Bye-bye.